Thank you, thank you. Okay, so one, super excited to be here at AI Summit. It's great to be back in London. This is actually my first trip back since the pandemic, so great to have a beautiful day here to kind of share what we're doing at IBM around AI and automation to help accelerate enterprise productivity and take a little bit of pressure off of each and every one of us.
IBM's powerful new tool.
Oh, sorry.
IBM.
All right. We're kind of experiencing, I think, two major trends that we've all are experiencing. We're all here today, right, because AI has made leaps and bounds improvements, and the promise of what it can deliver for us in the enterprise is really coming into sharp and clear focus on how we're going to do this. While at this very same time, and I think it's largely driven by the pandemic, our relationship to our work and the brands we interact with day in and day out is also changing. And so in context to that, I would assert that we are experiencing a generational change in our workforces and our relationship to work. And I think there's a bit of data here that bears that out. So 63%, over half of employees would rather to have better work-life balance than an increase in their paycheck. And 30%, over 30% of employees are starting to deploy AI and automation technologies to help them accelerate that work. Now, I think those two statistics are very much tied to that same point that I just made. People want to take the pressure off of their daily work, whether that's interacting with brands or doing their day-to-day job, and they want to use technology to make that experience better, and they expect that that same technology is going to make the experiences with brands that much better. So I would assert, right, we all exist in the world in kind of various forms, right? We exist as employees, we exist as subject matter experts within our job functions and roles, and we are consumers who interact with brands on a day-to-day basis. And I would say we have kind of three broad problems that each one of those experiences manifests. So employees, right? As employees, we know what we need to get done, but figuring out how to do it can be a maze. And that's because our enterprises are complex, they operate in multiple markets and jurisdictions, and there's all sorts of regulation that comes over the top of that governs how we work. Secondly, we are domain experts, many of us, in our respective fields, right? Whether that be HR, procurement, sales, marketing, product management, whatever it might be. We know the processes. We live in the processes. But we get so many requests on our time just to figure out what to do from our colleagues and from other people in the business that becomes our whole day. We're sitting in meetings all day. We're responding to Slacks or messages on figuring out how to do things. And we don't have the tools at our disposal to kind of eliminate that. So that way we can scale ourselves and really focus on the deep work required to move the organization forward. And then finally, we are all consumers. And our expectations as consumers has dramatically changed, right? We want personalized experience. We expect our brands to know us, know what we've done and what our needs are, and to give that to us in whichever way we decide is most convenient for ourselves. So you take that all into context, and we introduce digital labor. And digital labor is focused at helping individuals accelerate their work and productivity, as well as interact more efficiently with brands in a way that's personalized to their experience. So I would assert there's kind of three classes of help that we're trying to provide. The first is really about helping broad audiences kind of get things done. So that's broad employees that may need help understanding, parental leave policy or vacation policy or that kind of thing. Same thing with consumers, right? They want to understand how to do things, fix their own problems, self-serve, learn about products and services in any way, shape, or form that's most relevant to them, and generally that happens to be on web and mobile. And then finally, we all interact with applications day in and day out to accomplish these things. They are the manifestation of all of the things that I've been talking about: policies, processes, self-help, self-service. And for the longest time, really since the beginning, right, of large-scale IT deployments and those kinds of things, we have conformed ourselves to those applications to get the work done. But I think we're entering into an era where those applications can now conform to us and how we want to get work done. And so that's kind of the technology that we are working on to help organizations drive that productivity. So how does that manifest? And there's 4 areas where it manifests. First and foremost, as I described, we've got to exist within the channels our users expect us to be in from an automation and AI perspective, a digital labor perspective. That means we need to be able to interact on web, on mobile, over voice. And in fact, there are all sorts of new modalities that are coming into vogue that are going to increase the complexity of how we communicate within those channels. If you go over to the IBM kind of area over there, you'll see right when you walk into the left, an avatar. Avatars are becoming a real thing now, with real emotion, with real ways of communicating to resonate with folks. That's yet another modality that we're going to have to figure out how to grapple with to scale amazing experiences through. The second aspect is that a lot of these technologies are going to require deep domain specificity, right? Understanding the ins and outs of given processes and policies, whether it's HR, whether it's customer support, whether it's IT, right? And each one of those domains has a class of problems that they're trying to solve for, right? You know, within customer service, how do I get something done with your product or service? Or within procurement, right? What are the kind of standard contracts that my organization uses to procure technology in an embed fashion, for example? So each one of these, interaction mechanisms, not only is going to have channel specificity, it's going to have domain specificity. And each one of those domain-specific items is going to manifest via the applications that codify those processes and policies. So it's about interacting more efficiently with your workday, with your self-help and knowledge base applications, with your CRM, with your contact center software. It's all going to have an impact. And then finally, you're going to have experts who are going to need to understand the processes and then build those automations themselves. Because if you expect a central IT team or developers or expensive data scientists to do it, you're never going to get the automation coverage that is going to propel and make a material difference in your enterprise. So it's about deploying build tools that are easily understood and that can create scale with on the assets that those central development and IT teams are building. So if you got to build an integration, for example, to Salesforce, how do I propagate that for multiple domains and use cases? Or I need a way to interact with my calendaring system so that way I can coordinate meetings in an automated way, right? That's all about understanding how to work natively within, an Outlook environment or Gmail or those kinds of things. So we're seeing these kind of 3 big issues, right? We've got to exist in the channels, we've got to have domain specificity, and those that really understand the processes need to be empowered for the creation of those things and for the improvement of those automations. And all 3 of those things are built up from a foundation of best-in-class technology from IBM. So what are we delivering into the market? So to start off, you may have heard of a technology, a conversational AI platform called Watson Assistant. It's been in the market for several years, and it's our leading conversational AI capability that helps you manage kind of step 1 of that process, right? How do I exist in channels? How do I understand what people are asking for me, whether it's voice, digital, via an avatar, whatever it might be. It also is a platform that helps really kind of manage conversations, right? There's all sorts of craziness that happens in conversations day in and day out, right? I may start with a given prompt and say, well, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to take you down a completely different course. Or I'm going to give you some weird utterance that you're just going to have to ask me follow-up questions on, right? To really kind of get clarity in what I'm trying to do. So the technology supports all of that. We talked about domain specificity, right? And being able to interact with systems. Watson Orchestrate is a new capability that we've released this year that's really about driving that enterprise productivity for that subject matter expert, right? About who knows the ins and outs of Workday, the ins and outs of SuccessFactors or SAP in order to get work done. And it's really targeted at doing 2 things extremely well. 1, pulling people through processes rather than having people discover those processes. That's one. And two, helping subject matter experts build automations and dynamic workflows to help things get things done better, faster, and stronger. And then finally, there's Watson Discovery. Now, Watson Discovery is an insight engine. It is all about helping you understand and process the data associated with those processes and profiles, and what form do those processes and policies generally take? Unstructured. They're text-based, generally. So how do I understand what I've got in my existing enterprise in order to power these automation technologies? Discovery fits that role. So, generative AI, of course, is a huge component of how we make this technology work. And I'm going to show you a little bit, a demo here just in a little bit about it. But I wanted to kind of quickly say that, you know, our large language model and our generative AI platform, Watson X, is what's powering what you're going to see in the demo. We use, as a product team, we use that platform to identify the models that are going to meet the use case requirements that we have within the product for either improved workflows or new features. We govern those models with this tooling as well. And I'm very proud to say that we, on the Watson Assistant, Watson Orchestrate, and Watson Discovery product teams, we were client zero for Watson X. We were using this workbench when it was a prototype in IBM Research. And so what you'll see is some of the manifestation of those models in a customer support use case. So I'm going to switch to a demo. It's recorded, so there's going to be a telephone buzzing, so if it, just so that way no one jumps out of their seat and gets scared. And I'll kind of walk you through what's going on in that demo. What you'll see is kind of the combination of three strategies that we think is going to be how most enterprises will ultimately deploy generative AI technologies within for their use cases. It's going to, what we're going to show is a language model kind of running through a conversation and help bounce around different topics. We're going to see a set of deterministic paths that were built in the conversational AI platform for transactions. And then finally, we're going to introduce a human in the loop for what could be considered a risky transaction. Now, we're not doing anything nefarious, to be clear, in that risky transaction, but it does have regulatory requirements around it that we've got to make sure that we are absolutely certain is happening the right way, and no better way to do that than have a human being in the loop. Okay, let's see if this works.
Hi, Kate. Welcome to Lender Bank. To confirm your identity, please say the last 4 digits of your credit card number.
5571.
Authenticating you now. Hi, Kate. How can I help you today? I can do things like check your account balance, transfer money, dispute a charge, and more.
I need a new card that has no annual fees.
Okay, can you please provide more information about your preferences or financial needs? For example, are you looking for a card with rewards, low interest rates, or specific benefits?
I guess I use my card mostly at restaurants and supermarkets.
Based on your needs, the Lender Everyday Card might be a good option for you. It offers a $300 bonus, 5% cash back at restaurants and supermarkets, and no annual fee.
Oh, great. All right, I want to apply for the Everyday Card.
Great. I'm going to text you a link to our site where you can apply. We'll continue the conversation there.
So I'm going to take over the voiceover from here. So what we've done, right, is engaged in the voice channel. Now we're moving over to a digital channel because it's easier to kind of consume that information. So that conversation has been preserved in the voice of the digital channel, and now we're dynamically moving through the self-help application in order for Kelly, who is the customer here, to get a view of what credit card is good for her. And we're showing her on the form all the things that need to be filled out and what she can expect, right? So dynamic content personalized to her journey at the moment that she needs it. Now here's a deterministic path, right? We need to understand what her current income is in order to get her a credit card approval. So we ask for that specific information. And then walk her through the rest of the process. Now she has some other questions that she has before she signs up for that, right? What is the APR for the Lender Everyday Card? And it's a simple question and answer, comes back with the response. So as you can see, it's 18 to 28. Now she wants to know what the impact opening a credit card is going to have on her credit score. Now this requires connecting to a live agent. Why? Because when we talk about the impact of credit, of opening a credit card on credit scores, we get that wrong as an organization, as a bank. We got to report that to the regulator. That's a bad thing to do. So he authenticates, makes sure, right, that it's got the right person, and then based on kind of her existing financial history, he can give an assessment of 750, right? It's not going to have a huge impact. It's not going to have impact on your existing credit rating, so you should be okay, and go ahead and apply. Now the transaction can occur, the application is submitted, and the agent signs off. So you can see it's a pretty complex workflow, right, for something as simple and innocuous as opening a credit card, and it happened across multiple channels. It touched multiple systems, and it was a process that Kelly was pulled through. She didn't waver around and try to figure out what to do next. And for each one of those sets of use cases, right, understanding what she wants, we used a large language model there, right, to kind of navigate that conversation. We trained that language model on the specifics of the lender bank, right? So it's not going to generally do, broad-based question and answering. It's not going to tell you, who the prime minister is or anything like that. It's specific to the policies, regulations, and product information that the bank supports. So that language model then hands off to a deterministic path, right? When we need to kind of then fill out specific information in order to execute that submission process, that application process. And then finally, because we asked a little bit of a riskier question, that the organization did not feel comfortable with having automation take the hand, we introduced a live agent by connecting to a contact center support software and getting that agent engaged in that conversation. And ultimately, what is the result? A brand new, happy customer for Lender Bank. Okay. So at IBM, we can help you improve and transform your customer experiences. We can empower your employees, and we can create powerful and actionable insights for your organization. Now, don't just take this slide for proof. Let's actually see the proof points for each one of those things. So in creating exceptional customer experiences, we work with hundreds, thousands of customers across the world, hundreds of millions of customer support users on our technology. Whether organizations are trying to enhance self-service or modernize their contact center by offloading simple questions and tasks to a virtual agent as opposed to having all of that volume come into their contact center. And then once you're in that contact center experience, making sure that we give users, contact support support agents, the information at their fingertips so that they can best serve, right, the customers that do ultimately want to talk to a real live human being. So we touch every part of that customer support journey, and we've had successful implementations for each one of those. Within employee experiences, I will kind of just a quick story here. IBMers do not work in Workday to get HR tasks done. We work through a virtual agent called Ask HR. That's it. You want to, as a manager, you want to transfer an employee, I can do that completely within our virtual agent. If I want to go through a promotion process, we have automation that I can use to do that automation, or to do that promotion planning. And finally, we use the same technology to accelerate our recruiting process as well. So walking through the entire thing, whether it's starting from job rec to offer, right? We've automated through the use of virtual agents at IBM. But we've done it with multiple other clients as well. Helping them accelerate the recruitment process, help organizations better interact with core functions. We have many proof points here. Happy to talk to you about any of them. And then finally, discovering those insights within all of that policy information. Right, so we have, we've done a ton of work with Citibank in the U.S. To help them on their audit risk assessments with their audit risk teams, to parse through all of the policies of the bank and ensure compliance with regulators. And of course, we've helped out at HSBC as well to help them automate their understanding of their unstructured documents. So we've done, as I said, many engagements. Here's kind of the the brag chart of all the logos that we work with, from Wimbledon to Woodside. CBS, NatWest, I will say NatWest, I think, did, in their session this morning, did discuss a little bit about their Watson Assistant implementation. They've been a tremendous partner for us. So if there's anyone from NatWest in the audience, we do appreciate, all the work and partnership that we've done together. We've done over 40,000 engagements, and like I said, hundreds of millions of users on this technology. It is proven, it scales, it can meet the challenges and demands of your business. And we're really excited about what generative AI is going to be able to do to kind of accelerate those journeys. The analysts also agree. So we have pole position in the Gartner charts. So if you don't take it from the customer examples and the references here, right, certainly the analysts have something to say. So we invite you to go and try this stuff out. Get your fingers on it. Work through some of the labs and things like that you can all, of course, self-service. When you go to IBM.com and you ask questions about products and services, that's all powered by the technology that we just talked about today. So we have, I think, a few minutes for questions. So I'd love to kind of engage the audience a little bit. I've been talking here for, I think, a few minutes now. So any questions that the audience may have? I have time for one question. Wonderful. Is everyone stunned? Or is everyone like, I just need to go get some lunch right now? Yes. It's always it's hard. Oh, yes, in the back.
Thanks.
I can hear you.
My name is Hannah. I'm a journalist at CNN. I was just interested in whether within IBM all of these applications have displaced any jobs within your own organization, and do you have any thoughts on because clearly, if you have a virtual assistant or kind of almost virtual HR function, surely that means you need fewer people to do those jobs. So interested in your thoughts on that. Yeah,
you know what? I don't think that while it's easy to kind of make that immediate connection, I think it's made the work experience a lot better for, like, let's take our talent acquisition specialists, right? A lot of their time was spent scheduling, chasing people for approvals, chasing hiring managers for requirements, and doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, they were working, they would work 12, 60-hour weeks, right? And that's, like I said in the very beginning, right? That is not an experience that people are very much in love with, and they want to continue forward. So now our talent acquisition specialists are working more, with the hiring managers, really understanding the requirements to fill a position, so they can align the right candidates to the right hiring manager, making that process a lot more efficient, rather than spending all their time kind of chasing people. So I don't think it hasn't displaced jobs in IBM, but it has changed the nature of the type of work those individuals are doing, and frankly, I think for the better.
Great.
I think I only had time for one question.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll catch you on the end.
You're going to be around for
Of course,
the whole
I will
few
be
days?
hanging out in the IBM area, so if anyone wants to chat one-on-one, I'd be more than happy to have a discussion.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all your time today.
Thank
what
you.
a great presentation.